Maybe I know where to get the code from now.
Okay, so this is the product as you get it. You see the screen.
Yep.
So I'm just going to sort of zip through. Power adapter. The robot comes pre-assembled. This is just the unboxing. That's the bit that you get in it. Just zipping through. I think what I'm pointing out here is that so this will end up being a video, but these wheels seem to be hollow rubber. Doesn't seem to be any foam in them, but they can support the weight of the robot fine, plus a little bit of a load. This is looking at it from the top, and the what you can see right here are some headers sticking out. So that's for attaching a Raspberry Pi or extra peripherals to. But there's an onboard controller inside this unit as well. So this is, I'm opening it up here. You can see that there's basically 4 different hub motors. This is the lowest end of the Rovers that Waveshare produces, sort of in this line. But so here you can, I'm just showing where the wheels attach. Let's see.
Is that like a $200?
This is $100.
$100. Okay.
This whole thing costs $100 as it is right here. So these are the there's tiny little motors inside.
Oh,
Gear motors. They're actually 12 volts, 200 to 1. They're mounted directly to the gear output shaft, which is not a thing I like, but so don't step on it. But it's again, for $100, it's pretty decent. This is the battery bay. It takes 326. What are they?
18650s.
18650s.
18650s. Yes. Let's see. Taking off the plexi shield. So this is what you get inside. So there's a motor driver board here attached to a power conditioning board. So this is the battery charging circuit, and it provides power to this board. And I'll talk more about that board in a second. But that one's doing all the low-level control, so it does the control for the motors on this robot. And by the way, and it's ESP32 based, so you can also it comes ready to go with like a remote control interface that you can connect to over Wi-Fi. Let's see, do I need to show anything else in here? Probably not. Before I recognized that I didn't have 18650 batteries, I tried putting in another battery, other batteries that I had. Yeah, they're slightly longer.
What's wrong with this picture?
Yeah, exactly. Just if I press a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my shoehorn?
Exactly. So I got a document. I posted this document as a link on the Discord under member projects. So this is sort of my notes as I have so far. That goes into some more detail about this. So that's available. My plan is to I'm looking at this as a low-end entry-level mobile ROS 2 platform. That's my goal behind this. And I'm starting to work on a presentation for it. So to just give you some context, this is the product that we're talking about, and the Wave Rover. The $89 is the price from China, but the shipping is actually higher. On Amazon right now, or as of like a couple days ago, this was $100, and that's where I got mine. They have so there are 4 motors. Each motor has its own driver for it, but there's no odometry on these. There's no encoders on this one. You go up to these models right here, they all have encoders on the wheels. These models right here, these two, so this is also a 4-wheel kit. And so this is called the RASP Rover. So what they do is they sell it with the Raspberry Pi already bundled and pre-configured and loaded with their custom software. But their software is available open source, so it's available from anywhere. And then they have models that have like a pan tilt camera on it as well. There's also an audio on these two. There's an audio board as well, so you can give it text to speech and stuff like that. They also have like kits for arms and there's some other cute little extensions, but I don't have them all loaded in memory right now. But what these all use is a driver board. So there's actually 2 different models of driver boards. So this one is probably the worst product name I've ever heard. It's so generic, but general driver for robots. But it's pretty amazing what you get for the price. So they also sell this separately from the robot. So they cost $20. It's the same price that I found on Amazon. So if I've already got Prime shipping for free, so doesn't cost me anything extra there. And but it's an ESP32, so that means it has Wi-Fi, ESP Now. It can so there's these 2 40-pin headers right here. Oops. So let's look at the other side of this one. You can't really tell, but this one, the one to the inside, is basically what you attach the Raspberry Pi to. So this actually is a hat, but it's on these robots, it's at the bottom, so I guess the stack is a little bit upside down. So you mount to this one, and then they extend all of those GPIO pins over to another one, so you can have access to it as well. And so it's got 4 open loop motor driver ports. These 2 ports right here are motor drivers with a quadrature encoder on them. So if you have these driving the wheels, then you still got 2 more motor drivers. You've got this is these right here are for their flavor of serial bus servos. And there's an I2C port, there's a LiDAR port, and there's the power supply right there. There's 2 USB-Cs. So one of them is sort of your interface to the controller from like a desktop or laptop. The other one, if you have their flavor of LiDAR attached here, then this will be spitting out the LiDAR data, this other USB-C. There's a built-in 9-axis IMU. On this one, there's a micro SD slot on the backside, and they can deal with a 9 to 12 volt voltage range. So it seems like an awful. So in some ways, this is the worst name you can imagine. In some ways, it's entirely accurate. It is a general driver. Like I could imagine sort of basing a fleet of small robots off of this, because just it provides most of the stuff that you might need right out of the box, it seems. So there's a variant of this board that ships with these 3 right here, and this is also a bad product name because it implies robot operating system. It kind of means that, but it doesn't. So anyhow, the differences of this one relative to the previous one is that basically the 4 motor ports are now called switches, but I think that they still give you a variable output. So I don't know that there's a huge difference there. But it has another 2 motor ports with encoders on it, so you can run 4 with odometry. And it has an extra I2C connector, but you give up the micro SD slot. But I think the odometry is for a 4-wheel drive is probably worth it for most of the platforms that they have it bundled with. I have some data on the servos, but I don't think I need to go into that right now. But just I became aware. The main thing I'd say here is I became aware that there's sort of two different brands of servo, of serial servo that aren't like the really high-end type you'll find in professional robotics, but there's either there's the High Wonders, I think they used to be called Lewin Sol. They produce serial bus servos as well. They have a slightly different protocol. They have different pinouts on the wires. I've seen evidence that you can make the serial ports on these driver boards work. The serial servo ports on these work with the High Wonder servos, but the Waveshare servos actually are a little bit nicer. Like the High Wonders typically go to, I think, 240 degrees of movement, whereas these are these can switch dynamically between servo and continuous rotation mode. They can do a full 360 degrees. They have acceleration control, and they might also have torque control. So that's a lot to get in, a $28 servo.
That's a lot of torque on a servo. Wow.
Yeah, the digital servos these days are pretty amazing on how much torque that they can do. The place that they tend to fail the most is in the gearbox. So if they receive a hard shock, then that's the place where you have to sort of really be worried. So I'm early in the process of activating this whole thing. I would say I'm pretty impressed with these are the so here's the driver board, the general one, and its product page, and it's pretty in depth of just what it has, and then they've got a wiki behind it, and the wiki gives you all of the details, including circuit diagram's not super complete. I'm still trying to sort of grok, I guess, the totality of all of that information. But there's a lot of data on this thing. And then there's also their open source, should point out in this document, I've got a list down here of, where is that? Yeah, so this is their this is their GitHub presence, if you like. So these two are basically the firmware for those two boards, so you have direct access to it, and you can change it. And then this is an example of using it from a Raspberry Pi. So basically, they have this serial API that you use to control the lower end, what they call the lower board, and it's do I have something on that in here? I haven't written all that up, but basically there's a JSON API that with a bunch of commands for controlling all of the different peripherals on that board, so that you can just send it, basically a serial packet. You can send it over a serial link. It seems you can send it over I2C. You can send it over, there's a web interface, or over ESP now. So all of those methods are available. So this one right here, again, just gives you an example of how to do that, and built into it, there's this tutorial section right here, and there's a whole bunch of basically you got an interactive Jupyter lab as well. So here you're programming these things in Python, and so they come with the full information of Yeah, basically documentation combined with code examples that that you can just run. So if you're in Jupyter Lab, there's a little button here where you can just hit play and it'll run the example.
I admit, thank you for showing us that. I know it wasn't on this
Sure.
schedule. I have to admit, I'm looking at that general driver for robots.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, basically the functionality and even the ESP32 is almost identical to what I'm building piecemeal on my robot. Maybe I know where to get the code from now.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Thank you.
That's a lot of work. Yeah, they've definitely put a lot of work into that. But it's remarkable how few like tutorials are out there outside of their stuff. But their stuff seems pretty complete. But I can't like truly advocate for it because I haven't successfully been through the full thing. Although, well, it probably won't work. It wouldn't work right now, but I have had this thing tooling around the house under remote control from my phone and from my laptop.
Did the motors seem a little underpowered for their size, or?
They're given that the platform is so light and small, they're actually just fine. Way under what I have experience normally with. But given that they're also, 12 volts, the current isn't as bad as I would have expected, and so yeah, they're not like high amperage motors. But for this platform, it zips around. There's some speed rating that they have. I think they said something like, I think it was about 7 feet per second or something like that in the fastest mode. This is open loop, so it's just voltage control on the motors on this version of it. But it's zippy enough. The motors on the 6-wheel. Oh, by the way, those 6-wheel ones still only have 4 driven motors and 4 driven wheels. So the wheels in the center are just idlers. Basically, they're just helping support the platform. But it is, you'll notice the wheels were all the same. I think it is definitely a larger platform, and the motors on that, again, they have encoders, but they're also beefier. And they it looked like they had about 3 times the power of these. And so that platform also has some mounting rails on it, and those larger ones, they call them the UGVs. And so they're designed to accept somewhat heavier accessories, and they have a bigger platform on which you can mount everything. That's all I was going to talk about.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Nice little toy. Oh, so that's an RP LiDAR C1. And so one other caution is that, so for example, this connection right here, while there is a LiDAR on the board that's in here, there's a LiDAR interface. It is not physically compatible with the C1, the RP LiDARs. And it turns out Waveshare also sells their own LiDAR. So everything, so like they have their own brand of servos that are slightly less, they're not compatible with everything else, and they have their own brand of LiDAR, which seems to have its own flavor. And I would be 100% sure that this could be made to work. The RP LiDAR could be made to work with the right adapter cable and changes to the software. Well, not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. So they have this open closed. It's not a walled garden, but it's sort of wanting to be that way, I guess. I don't know. I guess they have a right to optimize for the products that they sell.
It's appropriately set up from a marketing point of view so they can make some money.
Yes, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they wouldn't exist if they weren't. So, yeah.
Okay, then cool.